Hello, welcome to SFF Book Recs. I'm Ree and this is my June mid-month wrap-up. So, let me show you the physical books that I've read this month. So there's 6, and then in addition I've read 13 ebooks. But let's start with the physical one. This is Red Rising by Pierce Brown, which is a sci-fi dystopian, basically kind of like Hunger Games. So the government is oppressing the red class, who are like the manual workers. In Darrow's family's case, they are the miners who are doing dangerous work deep in the bowels of Mars, and they're not getting good rations, they're not getting good medicine. Because of the hard work, they die young. So, shitty life. And then tragedy happens, and that basically makes Darrow and his people angry, and this kind of faction called secret rebellious faction called Sons of Ares offers him a chance to get back at the government and start making changes. The ruling class in Mars are the Golds, and they are like kind of physically like generations of breeding, and possibly even some kind of genetic modifications and stuff. So basically Darrow is getting a makeover that's very painful to turn him into gold physically and mentally, because they also have these kind of implants that help them to learn languages. And once Darrow's painful training is over, he goes to the military academy, which is to gain good position there, good grades, good connections, so he can be useful to the Sons of Ares and their cause. And like the ending test of this school is this kind of team war, kind of like the Hunger Games. And basically there can be some casualties. They try to make sure that most of the students survive, but Darrow and his team make some mistakes, so there are lots of twists and turns, and most of the book is taken by the games. I personally love magic schools, military schools, all kind of schools, and these kind of Hunger Games type game settings or game concepts. So this really worked for me, but if that's not your thing, then this probably isn't your book. Pierce Brown's writing is fairly economical, so in the beginning, when there was this emotional big moment thing that happened, I was like intellectually sad and like horrified, but I didn't really like feel it. But as the book progresses, I started caring about Darrow and the side characters, and I was really invested and interested in the end. I give this book 4 stars and really recommend it. I'm going to continue in the series probably next month, so you'll be hearing more from me about this. Thing that I read was the SAGA Comics. These are like kind of like maybe like they feel a bit like space opera, I guess. There are 2 warring alien species, and Alana and Marco, our main characters, the main couple, belong to different species, and they are forbidden to marry and to have friendships, and so they run away and have a child together, Hazel. And their governments are spreading propaganda that they can't even have children together. So their own governments are after them. They have also hired mercenaries to hunt them. There are some family members after them. Well, this is 6 books in. I read books 6 and 7, so I won't go into details about what happens in those specific books. But but the art is really beautiful. The story is fast-paced and like just gripping, and the dialogue is really awesome. It's a bit non-safe for work, and Alana and Marco do some adult things together, which are like, you do fade into black. It's not like pornography, but or it's not like the pictures are not explicit, but yeah, it's definitely adult comic. The themes are adult, and the dialogue also. But yeah, highly recommend. I love Saga. It's actually an unfinished series, but there's been a hiatus of few years. But the creators, they are returning to this series, and probably next or new story will be coming out next year. So very excited about that. Okay, but those were the 3 sci-fi books that I read. Then pretty much everything else fantasy related was urban fantasy. I'm categorizing everything that happens in our world, even if it's like alternative history or like yeah, if it happens in our world, if it names a city that really exists but is a like magical version of that, then it's urban fantasy. And if it happens in a secondary world, it's fantasy to me. So I read 10 things that I categorize as urban fantasy. One of them was a novella by Djeli called The Haunting of TrainCar 015. This is set to magical Cairo, with steampunk elements, and it's set to equivalent of early 900s, so basically the first decade of the century. And there's a mystery about, well, haunted tramcar with poltergeist kind of phenomenons, and two detectives, or they work on the case, and who is responsible? Well, that's drawing from Armenian folklore, which is something you don't very often see. So, and the world building of Cairo is really well done, because this is a novella. It's only like maybe 150 pages long, so you don't have a lot of page count for world building. There are no big info dumps. You're getting like morsels and little tidbits of information here and there, and like there's a lot of flavor, a lot of setting offhand, but it really works for me. We also see Fatma, the main character of a free short story from Tor.com website, which it's a story that's been previously published in this world, and I was really glad that she showed up. I didn't quite connect with the main characters, but the story flowed really well, and it was an interesting mystery, so I really enjoyed the story. I'm giving it 4 stars. And definitely looking forward to reading the full-length novella Master of Jinn in this same world, where Fatma is the main character. And then the other two urban fantasy things that are not the same series that I read are The Hidden Oracle by Riordan. This is set in, this is a sequel series to Percy Jackson, and the main character is Apollo, god Apollo, who was thrown out of Olympus because, well, he did something bad and Zeus is punishing him. So he is thrown on Earth, literally, and he now inhabits the body of a teenage boy called Lester Papadopoulos, and he meets a street girl, or a girl living on streets called Meg, who's a half-blooded god, and they go to meet Percy Jackson to get some help from him and to get to Camp Half-Blood. So we see a cameo of Percy, and at the camp there are Chiron and some campers we've seen previously. No Annabeth, no Grover, but some familiar characters. And well, I personally haven't read the Percy books. I know something that's going on there. I've seen the movie, which wasn't that good. But I have to say that this book doesn't really hold your hand very much. It doesn't give you very in-depth primer in what's going on and who all these people are. The pace is very fast, like the chapters are short and there's like action is constantly, something's constantly happening and the plot is moving forward. I personally didn't like the main, like who's the villain. He felt very one-dimensional and mustache twirly villain. There was an attempt to make it kind of heartfelt and connected to the characters, but it just didn't work for me. Maybe because I've read the Magnus Chase series, which in my opinion is much better. So if you really liked Percy Jackson series, then I suppose I think that this might work better for you. But personally, I would instead recommend reading Magnus Chase series and the rest of Rick Riordan Presents, which are own voices stories set to other mythologies than Greek and Norse. For example, we have Navajo mythology, Indian mythology, Sumerian or Babylonian mythology. So lots of diversity there. So I'm not personally continuing in this series. I gave this one 3 stars. I was able to finish it, but I wasn't that impressed. But yeah, then the second book is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. Really pretty Medusa cover. This book, well, actually the Apollo one, I read for the Olympics Readathon. The Lore was for my own team, Dionysus, where the prompt is to read a book with red or white cover. So I read Lore, which is standalone urban fantasy about war of gods. Basically, Greek gods, or Zeus wants to punish 10 gods who participated in some kind of overthrow, rebellion attempt, and he sent them on Earth thousands of years ago, and every 7 years there is a war or battle between gods called Aegon, and at the end of Aegon, or if you kill a god during Aegon, you will get their powers. And there are only very few original gods left anymore. Only Athena and Artemis are left. The main character Lore, her family is the Perseids. They are descended from Perseus, a magical hero who killed Medusa, and her family died during the last Aegon. And she wants nothing to do with the war anymore, nothing to do with Aegon anymore. But goddess Athena shows up at her doorstep, and she has to get involved. So yeah, this is like lots of action, lots of. We also see like some like flashback scenes to. And the main bad guy, he's Wrath, the reborn Ares, who's very brawny and like thug-like bad guy, and he has gotten 3 of the families, or he has his own family and 2 others who are allied with him, so he's very powerful and dangerous. And there is a plot twist, and that I didn't see coming, so that was pretty impressive. Then there's also some feministic themes, because Athena is one of Lore's allies. We see basically, or we're questioning some of her are told in the myths, and why she is so supportive of Zeus, who's not the best of guys. So there are some really good discussions about those. It was an enjoyable read, and it's not that like urban fantasy standalones. They're not that common, so it was a refreshing change to longer series that tend to be in this genre. So yeah, 4-star read, and I do recommend this book. And then the other series, the last book in May that I read was the first book of Gillian series by Diana Rowland. It's your usual urban fantasy book where the main character is a police, and she works in Louisiana, and she's also a demon summoner. So the first 3 books of the series, they are pretty much your usual police work. A murder has happened, and it has something to do with the demons and demon realm. They're not your like Christian demons. They are not fallen angels. Their leader is not Lucifer, but they are they are just beings from another dimension, and they can't lie. So but they are very tricksy with their words, so they can twist the truth around without actually lying. And but yeah, the first 3 books we are getting like introduced into the magic, into the demon, how this demon thing works, and then in later books we go into the demon realms themselves, and we see their politics, and some pretty bad things happen. Trigger warning, torture. Yeah, it's really gruesome, but the going gets really epic. Like I would say on par with the later books or the newest books of Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, or Kate Daniels by Ilona Andrews, how epic their last books got. So I really loved this series, and it was really unique take, because demons aren't actually that common in urban fantasy, especially when they are not like they their own mythology, not Christian demons. So so lots of unique content there. I really enjoyed these books. I'd say that the first ones are like solid 4 stars, but as the epicness goes on, I'd say that the later books, or the last books, I'd say that the last books are 3.5 star reads for me. And this will be a 9-book series in total. The 9th book hasn't yet come out, but the author is writing it. It has taken her like years to write it because she wants it to be really good ending, and she has written her other urban fantasy series, White Trash, My Life as a White Trash Zombie, in between. So but yeah, she estimates that it would be coming out next year, so 2021, 2022. I really hope that it does come out and we'll get a proper ending. And I'm really interested. I loved these books so much that I want to read her other series, the White Trash Zombie series. So I will likely be start picking that up next month. So you'll be seeing more from this. And there's, okay, I hate this term, but my women's fiction read, which is Rich People Problems by Kevin Kwan. This is the 3rd book in Crazy Rich Asians series, which is very sudsy, very soap opera-like story, dramatic story about the lives of rich people in Singapore. And we're following the family of the same characters as before, Nick and Rachel, and Nick's family back in Singapore, and his grandmother is very frail, and the family is basically expecting her to die very soon, and the big drama is about who is going to inherit the family mansion, the Tyersall Hall. Because Nick married Rachel, a poor girl, like an American, against the wishes of his family, so he was disowned. So now it's not clear that who is going to be the heir. And the grandma, she met her lawyers right before she got sick, so especially cousin Eddie thinks that she changed her will, and he might be in the running. And we also another storyline is Kitty Pong, who's a like social climber. Her failed with her daughter-in-law, her stepdaughter Colette, who did some bad things in book 2. But yeah, those are the main storylines. It's very similar to the two previous books. Fun, light, sudsy, and really well-written characters. And if you like this kind of stories and haven't seen the Crazy Rich Asians movie, which came out a few years ago, do watch it. It's awesome. Great actors there. For example, Michelle Yeoh is playing Nick's mother Eleanor, and she's really pushy about getting grandchildren. Then I also read Beck McMaster's Draki series, where the main characters or the love interests are dragons, and this is really interesting because the setting is 1800s or late 1800s Iceland, so not your typical big city or even US or Britain as a setting. So that makes it interesting. And the main character in the first book is Freya. She has a farm and ailing farm and a father who is sick, and the dragon takes their goat, who they need to live, basically survive the winter. So she's going to Dragon's Cave to get the goat back, and the dragon is very impressed by Freya's bravery and the fact that she's not afraid of him, and he gets intrigued, and he of course notices or realizes that, oh, Freya is my chosen mate. So this has the chosen mate trope. And the enemy in this book is a dragon hunter called Hakon, who thinks that Rurik, Golden Dragon, kidnapped his wife 7 years ago, and that's why he wants to kill Rurik and try to recover his wife. And there's also Rurik. He's a dragon prince. He was cast out of his court by his mother, Amadea, who is the queen. She has this kind of really dangerous chaos magic, and she somehow arranged her father to be killed and Rurik to be blamed for it, and he had to flee the court. So there's drama about that too. There are 5 books all in all in this series, and they have ongoing plot arc revolving around the dragon court and overthrowing the queen eventually. And in the second book, the couple is Hakon, the dragon hunter, and his wife Ardis, who turns out to have not been kidnapped by a dragon, but to be a dragon herself. And she is daughter of Amadea, the wicked queen, and we get to see more of the court politics, as also happens in book 3, where the main character is Sirius, the Black Forge, the Black Frost. Yes, that's the name. And his mate is a Drekling girl, she's basically half dragon, half human, and she's weak and looked down upon in the court. So it would be a disaster, because Sirius has been very politically ambitious. So it would be a disaster if he mated with Malin. And the 4th book is actually my favorite, and I'm giving this one solid 4.5 stars. The main character is Tormund, who is a companion of Hakon and who we have seen as a side character in the previous books. And his love interest is Brunn, Brunhilda, who is a former Valkyrie who was cast out from the sisterhood. And basically, even their names are doing homage to Game of Thrones, Tormund and Brienne of Tarth. She's a warrior lady, she is not into... Tormund falls for her immediately when he sees her and starts wooing her, and she's like, not interested. And they are on a quest to find Rurik and Ardis's brother, Marduk. And interesting things and sexy things happen during their journey. These books, there are some steamy scenes. They're not like the spiciest thing ever that I've read, but definitely nice smut there, and but there's also like good solid action plot and overarching plot. So these are solid 4-star reads. I'd say maybe the second book with with Hakon and Ardis, which is about second chance romance and basically enemies to lovers, because Hakon is very, very angry at Ardis about leaving her and letting him to think for 7 years that she was dead, or that she was like kidnapped by a dragon, and wonder if she's alive, which broke his heart. So yeah, it's somewhat angstier book, but also very very Erst unresolved sexual tension, because they're traveling together, they have only one bedroll, they have to sleep together, ride together on the same horse. So yeah, lots of good tropes there. Definitely recommend that. But yeah, those were the 19 books that I've read so far in month of June. It's been a very good reading month. I'll be going back to work at the last week of June, so maybe like 5 or 7 books more will be read at the end of the month, and I'll be talking more about those at the end of the month. But that was it for now. Thanks for watching, and if I'd love to hear what you have been reading. How has your reading month